Hello everyone, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this really simple planter on Jamie Makes It. The stock I used for this planter came from the same shipping pallet as my previous projects. It just doesn't seem to go down. There are various lengths but all were 9cm wide and about 2cm thick. To start off with, I tilted my miter saw to 45 degrees with the help of my digital angle gauge. I then trimmed one end off, flipped the piece over, made a mark at 62cm and cut the miter along that mark. I was making 2 of these planters, so I had to make 4 of these pieces. I then repeated this process for the short sides, but these measured 13cm from the outside of the mitered cut to the other, leaving me with an internal width of 9cm. I couldn't adequately clamp down a stop block, so I had to get a little creative with a 3x2 along my workbench, and that worked perfectly. I received one too many splinters with these pieces, so I sanded them down with 80 grit using my random orbit sander. The internal faces would also be difficult to sand once assembled, so I solved that problem here as well. I then pinned the sides of each planter into place using 50mm brad nails. Next, I cut 2 base pieces measuring 58cm long. Just slightly too big. Ever so slightly. And these fitted in nicely. I gave them both a quick sand with 80 grit and secured these with 50mm brad nails. For the section dividers, I made a mark at 7cm, lined that up with the saw blade and cut 4 of these pieces. I inserted 2 dividers into each planter and spaced them apart, giving me 3 equal spaces of 18cm. I nailed these into place again using 50mm brad nails. I cut some trim down from a couple more pallet lats. These measured 25mm by 10mm. I cut them a little wide so I could overhang slightly internally. I cut a 45-degree miter at one end of the trim, held it to the planter, made a mark and sneaked up on the cut. I cut the long 4 sides first and then repeated this process for the 4 short ends. The trim on the dividers also followed this process but with 90-degree cuts instead. I attached the trim with glue and 30mm brad nails and wiped away the excess glue with a damp rag. I then filled all the nail holes with filler and left that to dry whilst I started marking out where I wanted the dowels to go with my combination square. On the long sides I wanted the dowels to be placed 1cm in from the sides and 2cm from the top and bottom. On the short sides I wanted them to sit in 1cm from the sides and 3cm from the top and bottom. This offsets them from the dowels on the adjacent faces. I used a 5mm brad point drill bit, being careful not to drill too fast to reduce the risk of the wood face splitting. I set the depth I needed to go by using electrical tape. I used a bit of glue and then tapped the dowels into place using my mallet. This was around Father's Day and my son wanted to help, so this part took a little longer, but we both had fun. Start getting them interested while they're young. Let them help out. I trimmed off the excess dowels using my flush cut saw. I then sanded everything with 100, 150 and 180 grit and knocked off the edges as well to make them nicer to the touch. I don't usually sand to this higher grit, but because these 2 planters weren't for me, I wanted to make sure everything was really smooth. Off camera I cut some feet for the planters. These measured 2x4cm and were attached using 30mm brad nails and glue, and I wiped away the excess glue with a damp rag. For finish I used this Georgian medium oak Danish oil. I applied 2 coats, sanding with 800 grit in between coats. Once the second coat had dried, I could call this project finished. I was really happy with how these turned out, and I really love the colour contrast between the Danish soil and the green herbs. Wow. If you like this build, please give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it if you tap that subscribe button. I also have a few other videos on my channel which you may find interesting. Thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.